This is The Clash, where the real world clashes with a true Christian worldview. Join former professional wrestler Chris Whaley, known as the Masked Saint, who is an author, pastor, and teacher that brings his wrestling skills into the squared circle and tackles real-life issues. Along with Jeff Dixon, best-selling author, internationally known teacher, leader, and pastor who is not afraid to tackle the tough issues of the world we live in. Together they form a tag team of wisdom in The Clash.
Hi, and welcome to The Clash, where we take our real life, real world Christian faith and allow it to clash into the culture and the world that we're surrounded by. When it's all said and done, we hope that we will entertain just a little bit, educate a little bit, encourage just a little bit, and at the end of our half hour together, that you'll be better off for having watched The Clash. And we get to do a lot of things. We get to meet people, we get to show you folks that you've never seen before, and when it's all said and done, we come up with a pretty good show. I'm joined, not really joined, I'm here with, because he carries this thing. He is the one only former professional wrestler. We call him the Saint. He makes me call him that, by the way. Chris Whaley. Chris, how you doing, Bubba?
Man, I'm doing great and excited about today. And if you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and get right into that.
Do it.
Because we have with us today Clay Dyer. Now, Clay was born without lower limbs, no left arm. He has a partial right arm. But here's the great thing. In spite of those limitations, he has succeeded more in life than most who have completely no physical limitations. He's also a professional bass fisherman, and he is a highly sought after speaker. Now, Clay, I'm going to tell you, I was born in Alabama. Both of my parents are from Alabama, and so I grew up speaking normal. And it is nice to have someone who talks like I talk. So, Clay, thank you for coming, and we're glad to have you on The Clash.
Man, I think the ratings just dipped off over that. I think people say, well, okay, forget that.
You know, it's funny that you said that. It's great being on the show, guys, and it's funny that you said that when you said you were from Alabama, because, you know, I tell people in ministry, sometimes people that don't know or have never been taught, they'll come to me and they'll say, well, you know, man, how do you pray to God? And I'm like, you know how you talking to me right now? And they're like, yep. I said, that's the way you talk to God. You just talk to him like he's, you know, right in front of you, because he is. And then I'll say, look, I praise the Lord that you don't have to be a literary scholar from Harvard. I said, he understands this old country redneck, he'll understand you.
I love it. I love it. Oh, my gosh.
I love that. Jeff, start us off.
Yeah, Clay, I mean, as Chris is introducing you, you know, he was talking about some limitations, physical limitations you were born with. And so I want to kind of start at the beginning for him. What moment in your life, because you made a choice at this point, what moment in your life did you decide that you weren't going to let those limitations define your life? Can you kind of share that with us, just your background and how you grew up?
Oh yeah, you know, I grew up a little small town called Hamilton, Alabama, in the northwest part of the state. You know, small town by my standard, it was, you know, around 5,000 or 6,000 people. Was blessed to have an incredible parents, Beverly and Clarence Dyer. Incredible set of grandparents. When my parents, you know, where my mom was carrying me, you know, her and dad never did drugs or anything that would have been a medical explanation or whatever, if you will, of why I was born, what culture a lot of times or the world wants to perceive as handicapped or disabled. But I realized early on at like the age of 4 or 5, somewhere right around there, you know, just seeing other kids my age that had all their extremities and fingers and hands and all that, I realized I was unique. And I even made up my mind then. I was like, you know, I'm not going to sit around. And this was even before I was, you know, a Christian and a child of God. I believed in God even at 30 age, but I didn't have that relationship, you know. And but I made up my mind early on, even then. I said, I am not going to be one of those that sits around, says, poor, pitiful me, makes excuses or questions or blames God, why am I this way? I said, I'm going to get up off my backside. I'm going to do everything I can to try to make, to try to encourage people, to try to show people that, hey, in life, sometimes um, things may happen that's unexpected, but put your faith and trust in God and roll with it and go out there and do the best you can do at trying to make, the world a better place, one soul at a time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, man, that determination, even from from your childhood on, that really, in a lot of ways, as I have kind of done a little pre-show work and done a little studying on you and read up on you, that really has become the theme of your life, and so that's inspiring.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Well, Clay, when did you get into bass fishing?
A long time ago. I actually started fishing about the same time, about 4 or 5. My very first fish was a catfish out of my grandfather's farm pond sitting on his lap. And, I never would have imagined that many years ago one fish would have ever helped to ignite a passion, that would still be so strong today. And so I caught the first fish about 4 years old. It was a catfish. Fast forward to about the age of 10 and watching a lot of fishing shows on TV, watching some of my heroes, the Hank Parkers, Jimmy Houston, Bill Dance, watching them do it and watching the professional tournaments. And even early on, I loved sports, but it was kind of one of those things where even though I played sports, I played baseball, football, and basketball. I knew early on I wanted to be a professional. And to be quite honest with you, I didn't feel like the attorney, nothing against attorneys, but I didn't feel like law or being a doctor or something I didn't feel like that was my path. I didn't feel like that was my purpose. And I said, okay, if I want to be a professional athlete, fishing can't stop me. So I started, even at that early age of 10, bass fishing and getting into bass fishing. And then thank the Lord, had some amazing people came along and mentored me that were championship bass fishermen back then, that helped me get involved in the state level. And then as I just, grew and grew up and learned, I just kept, advancing. And, praise God now since 97, I've been on the tour, since 1997. So it's been a while.
Wow. You've won, I read, over 20 tournaments. Is that right?
Yes, sir. I think that number, to be honest with you, I don't even know exactly what that number is. I want to say it's like 26 or 27. All that on the state or local regional level. I've yet to get that top level national win, but it's funny that you asked that because actually I had a guy ask me. One of my buddies that was a roommate of mine on tour, I had him ask me probably 6 or 7 years ago, or maybe longer. He's like, man, why hadn't you quit? And I was like, what do you mean, why hadn't I quit? And he goes, dude, if I had to do it the way you had to do it, I would have quit a long time ago. And I looked at him and I said, dude, anybody can quit. I was like, I'm not anybody. I said, quitting is easy. I said, to me, I've got to say it. It says, winners never quit and quitters never win.
There you go. I love that.
Well, along the way, how did you deal with folks that would kind of doubt you or doubt your ability to do it? Because again, you're going to run into that. There's no way you didn't. And how did you just kind of cast beyond those naysayers that are out there?
It was honestly even then, and this was again before I was saved. Looking back, it had to be my faith because I believed in the purpose I had so much that I would tell myself when people would doubt me, I would say, look, God knows my purpose. I know my purpose. Those people don't know it. And I've kind of jokingly said, I actually said it in a video that a news station did on me. And I said, I've never been one of those that was worried about getting bullied. When kids picked on me, I said, well, if you don't like me, so what? Somebody else will. And I think it was a humbleness, but it was a humbled confidence that I always had, that I knew that God believed in me and I knew that I believed in him. And when I use that belief to, like, regardless of what they say, I'm not going to let the naysayers, they don't control my destiny. And as my wife will tell you and my family will tell you, the people the people not only in our hometown, but the people in the surrounding areas that really knew me, that saw me as a child growing up, that saw the things I did. The people that really knew me knew better than to say, you can't do that. They knew better.
Well, let me ask you, do you have somebody in the boat with you to help you? I mean, how do you do it? How do you fish?
Well, we try for safety aspects for my family and like my wife. I obviously I can do it all and do it, no problem. And just from a safety standpoint of them being concerned, like if I fell out of the boat in rough water or something like that, we always try to have somebody in the boat. But in a lot of our practice for our national tournaments, sometimes if I'm not able to line somebody up to be like a media representative or something, then some of our family that travels with me, they will launch me in the mornings, and I will be fishing by myself all day and then a tournament day. But as far as doing everything, I've learned and figured out ways to do everything I need to do without assistance. I may have to do it a different way, but I've learned how to do it, all myself, and so that way, I can go out there and do what I need to do.
Wow, that's incredible.
Well, there's a motto that shows up as I was reading, and it's a motto that you have that says, "If I can, you can."
Yes.
I mean, what does that motto mean to you on the water and off? I mean, that is a great life motto. Where did that come from? And
it honestly comes from early on in life when I actually had people come to me that I really did. Some of them I didn't know, some of them I did. But I had people come to me that would say, "Man, I was doubting, but I saw you do this, and I realized if you can do it, I can do it. If you can do it like with what you've got, I can do it. No problem." So I've tried to kind of take that and just run with it and show, because we go all over the country to schools, churches, corporations, and I try to show everything from kids to adults that sometimes when people maybe think they can't do something in life, I try to show them like hands-on demonstrations of how I fish and how I drive my truck, just how I live my everyday life. Like my family will tell you, a lot of things that maybe other people might think are amazing or astounding. My family is so used to seeing me roll on in everyday life doing what I do, doing things that maybe other people think I'm not able to do, that my family doesn't really think about it. And it's kind of funny because sometimes we'll be out in public and like I'll be unloading out of my truck or something, and people will kind of look like if our family or friends are with us that know me really well, they'll be kind of looking at them like, "You're pretty sorry, you're not helping him," but yet they know that I've got things set up, and they know I'm very independent. So a lot of times they know I'm the type that if I to speed something up or something, or if I need help, I'll say, "Can you give me a hand?" But they pretty much stay out of my way. Let me do my thing.
oh, that's great. See, you must have a good heart too, because if I saw someone looking at me, I'd be looking back at the people and going, "They never helped me." I mean, I'd throw under the bus,
Well, Clay, I know some people who were born with physical difficulties that blame God for their problems.
Right.
Was there ever a time that you blamed God for how the difficulties that you were born with? I know you've said some, but tell us about your journey of faith.
To answer your question, first of all, there's never been a time that I've ever questioned or blamed God, for allowing it to happen. As a matter of fact, I have tried to on a daily basis, thank God and show my appreciation and praise Him, honestly, for allowing me to be born like this, because I feel like at 48 years old, I feel like it has made me truly appreciate um, even the simpler things in life that let's just be real, as humans, it's really easy to take for granted. But it's made me appreciate and be thankful for those things. And I'm human like anybody else. So there's days that I try not to ever take anything for granted. But there's days that I just try to have an attitude of the glass is always I'm half full, and hey, let's do everything we can today to be the very best we can be. And one of my prayers, usually every morning, is I pray, God, help me to be a better man, a better husband, a better grandfather, a better everything today than what I was yesterday.
Chris, I was just thinking while we take a break here in the show.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be nice if you could go somewhere and shop and get high quality merchandise that would have a lasting impact? Wouldn't that be good?
I think that would be absolutely awesome.
Well, I've got a suggestion for you, because what is your favorite saying?
Don't tap out.
Look at that. How about a Don't
Holy
Tap Out
smokes,
t-shirt? And
don't
look at the
tap
logo
out.
on the back.
What's on the back? The Clash.
The Clash. That's one of my favorite shows.
You know, it's on my top list too.
And people could go and buy this from our store. Now you say, how do you get to the store? Well, right now there's a QR code on the screen. If they use that QR code, they can go and they can buy, name something. We'll see if they can buy it there. What do we want to buy?
Probably, I want to get a long sleeve hoodie.
You know what? You can get a long sleeve hoodie there.
Really?
Yeah, and you know what else? If you had a baby tomorrow, you could get Clash baby gear at that same store. Yep, you can get that. All this available at the Clash store. So if you haven't been to the Clash store, you're one of the few people in America that hasn't been there yet.
Yeah.
And so check it out. Buy our stuff. It makes us money. It makes us happy.
Yeah.
Okay. Go to the Clash store.
That's incredible.
Clay, you're not just a fisherman. You're a follower of Jesus, and that really does define your life, and I can hear that as you're talking. But you also, though, are a motivator. Your story, your life, really is it's a vehicle that you've been able to use to share your faith and encourage others. I mean, tell us a little bit about how you kind of made that transition to start doing that, and then some of the folks you've talked to, some of the impact that you've seen happen around you.
Yeah, it started early on. What was funny was growing up, my family was always big in the outdoors, but they were also in the business. And I'll never forget my dad and my granddad when I was about 12, kind of like most what I call true men of God and men do with their kids. He set me down and he said, basically, both of them said, look, there's about 4 things we want you to take that we're going to say for the rest of your life. Number one, always put the Lord first, and everything you do, and put your nose to the grindstone and work hard. And then Granddaddy looked at me and he said, son, he said, it's not always easy to do what's right. He said, as a matter of fact, a lot of times it's easier to do what's wrong. He said, but if you always do what's right every time you have an opportunity, he said, and you do it, whether it's something as simple as opening the door for somebody or whatever the case may be. He said, if you'll always do what's right, you'll be blessed and you'll be rewarded. And then the last thing, and this is something that honestly, it never really it never really rooted in me. Well, I say rooted in me. It never really, I never really saw the true meaning of this until probably my late 20s or early 30s. And my granddaddy looked at me and he said, if you'll pick a career that you love, he said, you'll never feel like you go to work a day in your life. And, in my 20s or early 20s, I didn't really understand what that meant because my mind frame was always, okay, I need to have a career where I'm at an office 8 to 5 or whatever, making a living to provide for my family. Little did I know even back then that my purpose was going to be doing something that I absolutely love doing and had a platform from God and being, full-time in ministry and being a professional angler and out doing what I'm doing. And, with that being said, the world we live in today, when you look, in the book of Daniel and the book of Revelation, I can't help but look out there like on the news every day, and when you see the storms, the earthquakes, the floods, the cultural things, all the perversion that the devil has used the world to teach its people. And when you see all that going on and you realize that it is totally playing out just the way that the Bible says, it's going to, I realize that right now it's in going forward, instead of It's like a guy asked me the other day, for instance, he said, man, when you going to slow down and take your foot off the gas? And I jokingly made the joke to him. I said, well, when you tell my bills to slow down, then I will. And no, I realize the world we live in today, and I'm trying to keep my foot on the floorboard, trying to touch and win as many souls to his kingdom as what I'm purposed to do. Um, because when my day comes to an end on this earth and I take my last breath, my biggest thing is I want my legacy, my wife and I's legacy, our family's legacy. You know, I don't want God to ever look at me and say, son, you had a chance here, but you didn't fulfill it. You know, son, you had this person you could have witnessed, but you was too lazy or you were too whatever. I want God to look at me and say, son, great job, son. Come home. Job well done. You ran the race well. And I've got a message a lot of times that I share in churches that's called Your Dash. And I actually heard it on Sports Center years ago. But I asked people, I said, what are you doing with your dash? Because it hurts my heart to see, as I go out into this world, it hurts my heart to see people who allow circumstances in their life or allow, where they could do something about it, but yet they sit back and make excuses. And when Jesus never made an excuse for us. And so that's why I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to sit back on my haunches and say, poor pitiful me. I'm gonna excuse my bluntness, but I'm gonna get off my rear end and go do something about it.
No, that's good.
That's awesome. Well, you've obviously been very successful as a pro bass fisherman. Do you have any plans to be successful in some other area of your life?
You know, I've been so blessed in so many ways, guys, that um, just like in the professional fishing, if my philosophy, I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna work as hard as I can at it when those events are there. If I never win another event at the end of my career, I can look back and say, man, I was blessed. I had an incredible career. I don't feel like I'm trying to use a lot of wisdom in what I'm saying here. As much as a competitor as I am, and as much as I want to win, I don't feel like I need that win to justify how blessed I am, to justify my purpose for being out there. A good friend of mine, Mark Rose, says it like this. He says, I'm going to go fish my heart out, give it all I've got. I'm going to honor God in the process, and whatever he wants is what I want. And I hope I do win tournaments so I can give him glory for it. But, if I never won another one, I've had an incredible career. And as far as one of the things that my wife and I were so passionate about, that we love so much, it's along with the ministry. But a couple of years ago, God put a vision in us to start a nonprofit foundation called the Clay Dyer Foundation, and it goes along with the ministry. And what's to me, what kind of just gives me chills all the time when I think about it, is when we started this, we were kind of focused on helping special needs people and their caretakers. And then as we got it going and people found out about it and God really started blessing it, it's grown already to so much more than what she and I even envisioned. And, we have been able, just like this past year, for instance, we were able to bless 3 families that were probably not going to be able to do any kind of a Christmas for their kids. And we were able to go out through our foundation, and we found out, yes, we did get them some fun things and toys that the kids wanted, but we found out what they needed, and we were able to get the kids shoes and socks and clothes, and able to bless the families with a week's worth of meals for Christmas, so they could fix their kids and their family meals. And one of the greatest blessings, and I always get choked up about it, is when my wife got video and we saw kids. Today you expect kids to get excited about opening like a dadgum iPad or an iPhone or some kind of electronic device. And to see these kids get excited about opening up a pair of socks, or new shoes because they needed it. And to see that was such a great blessing. And just about 2 weeks ago, we were able to bless a former family that went to church with us that moved to East Tennessee. Their daughter was in a bad place. I shouldn't say a bad place in life, but due to some circumstances, she was in a rough place in life. She had came down here and was more or less, I don't want to say homeless, but was looking for somewhere to go. And her family was in East Tennessee, and she came to our church, and our pastor found out that basically she had her 22-month-old baby and the clothes on her back, and they were sitting on the street curb. And we were able to take her into our foundation home, what serves right now as our foundation home, and provide her and the baby with everything they needed for a week until they could get some things, lined up and taken care of. And so God has used that foundation so much more, to reach so many more people than what we even ever imagined. And we've got a lot of things like out on our farm where we live. We're planning on building a respite home that will host two families and enlarge our pond that's here. And we're planning on doing like an outdoor pavilion so we can actually have, host like revivals and different events for special needs people and all that. So that foundation is what, one of the things, it and the ministry go hand in hand. But I said all that to say, to answer your question, kind of full circle. You know, I pray every day that um, I don't want anybody to ever look at me like I'm trying to be successful from a worldly standpoint. I want people to look at me and be like, you know what, he's a David, and he slays giants. Like my attitude every day is I don't look at something and go, oh my gosh, and let it intimidate me. I look at it like when it's an adversity. I look at it like, man, we got an incredible opportunity to slay a giant today, and that's the way I try to live. With that being said, it's our prayer that not from a financial successful standpoint, it's our prayer that we can make a difference in this world. Like I said earlier, one soul, one family at a time.
Very good.
That's powerful.
Well, Jeff, I'm amazed how fast the time is
I
going.
know.
You need to close us out.
Well, yeah, Clay. I mean, I want you to understand. You have inspired us. We never know when we start these interviews what it's going to be like, but you have inspired us. I know you've inspired our audience, and so we are just so thankful for your time and your willingness to share with us, but also just thankful for you, your life, what you're doing, and the impact you're making. And so, man, just thank you, brother. We're excited about this, and we'll make sure that we put in the credits how folks can find you on the website and things like that.
Thank you.
But man, just may God bless you in the days ahead, and thanks for being a part of the class today.
Well, man, thank y'all for having us, brother. Y'all have a blessed day, and may God bless y'all. And however we can help, man, y'all know where we are. Just reach out to us, and we appreciate the links and stuff. We want to be able to help people, and we appreciate y'all putting that up there. And if you'd like our emails, phone number, any of that, just let us know, and we'll be glad to get them to you.
Okay.
Sounds good.
God bless you, buddy.
God bless you. Thank y'all.
Yeah,
Jeff, that was truly amazing.
that's fun.
I'm the worst guy in the world sometimes to get the poor old me's and the I don't cares, and I see a guy like Clay Dyer, born with his difficulties, and the way he's overcome everything. He is truly an amazing, godly man, and I'm so glad we had him. Hey, listen, maybe he helped you. Maybe he helped you in life, and I know that's going to be a great thing for you because of Clay Dyer. So you have a great week, and don't tap out.